Luke, how the hell are you, man?
Yeah, super. Doing well. Yourself, Andy?
Not too
Good.
bad. Not too bad at all. Not too bad at
Excellent.
all. I uh,
Brilliant.
I, I often go off on rambling thoughts when someone asks me how I am, so I'm not today. I'm going to kick right into it. Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 23. I own a gym in Dublin 18, so around the Sandyford area. It's called Prime Performance. And we opened it last year, so 2019, and then the world kind of ended, as we all know. So it's kind of been a roller coaster. Other than that, obviously passionate about the fitness industry. I've kind of been in sports my whole life. Started playing football like I'd say most young lads did. Then got into golf and then martial arts, which I'm sure we'll touch on. And that's kind of led me to where we are now. Kind of went from martial arts, started coaching and that a little, and then got more into fitness, and then kind of done my degree in fitness in sports science and health, and then finished that up. And like we say, we opened the gym last year. So there's a quick summary.
It's a quick
Um,
it's a quick summary because you've done a lot
that's
in
it.
23 years of your life.
That's
Jesus
it.
Christ.
They say like the elevator pitch, Andy. If you only have a minute on the podcast, I'm sure we'll have a little longer, so we can delve into any of the areas you like. If you want to touch base, we can go into detail on them a little
Yeah,
more.
100% we will. I just really find it fascinating, and we'll come back to especially like the running the gym and opening it, and
Yeah,
the time you did and stuff. It must
yeah,
have been a big roller coaster. But let's go back
yeah.
to even further before that. You talked about starting football, starting into golf,
Yeah.
and then into martial arts. You're obviously always sporty. Which one of those sports was the one that kind of really lit your fire for fitness in general as well?
I'd say it was martial arts. Like I played golf, but golf isn't the most like fitness based. You don't need to be very performance. If you've ever played yourself, it's more skills. So I still play, but I'd say the martial arts was where it really kind of took off. Like if you ever watch UFC or anything, you'll know it's quite a physical sport. You need to be training a lot, both cardio and kind of strength training. So I started that when I was 12, and I only stopped it last year. So literally that really lit the fire. I was training 5 to 7 days a week, sometimes twice a week, depending on the time of year. And I that really traveled all around Europe with it. Really, that was my huge passion. I love it, still do love it. I'm a huge UFC fan, Bellator, and all these things. So combat sports is still a huge place in my heart. Um,
Unreal. We've talked before on the podcast about combat
okay.
sport and
Yeah.
martial arts in particular, I suppose. But the one thing that always comes out strikes me about it, fittingly enough, is that it's massive on respect and building those kind of
Yeah.
principles and all that sort of stuff. How is that? It's a big question
Yeah.
for a Wednesday morning, I suppose. But how has that affected you in terms of your approach to life? Like, how do you kind of go about your life based on that, or has it?
Yeah. No, absolutely, it has. Like, and I think it's only kind of hit me how much it has in the last year and a half, if that
Mm.
makes sense, because I was very much in the bubble of it. So, like I say, I trained 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. I traveled with the group of martial artists all the time. So I didn't really take a step out of it and realize that, oh, okay, maybe we are like, there's a different aspect of, like you say, discipline and respect
Mm.
than other sports. Like when I played football, it was kind of like you rocked up the training, and it was like you kicked the ball around, and it was usually like the one of the players' dads was the coach or something, and there wasn't much kind of formalization, if that's the right
Yeah.
word, to it. Whereas like we had three main coaches in our club, and it was like not that you didn't cross them. That's maybe the wrong phrase, because it sounds very like. But if you miss training when you're supposed to be there, you'd hear about it. If you were late, it was like you don't show up late, or uh, you'll pay the price. We have some crazy stories from like training camps abroad and stuff where, like I say, if you were to look back when you're not so much in the bubble, you think like, Jesus, that's a bit mental, you know. But when you're in it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's pretty normal, you know. But it's definitely changed the way I coach now, especially. And it's been, I found a huge adjustment, you know, coaching like general population to coaching athletes. It's kind of like a bit, like you say, you can't kind of uh, go in on them as much as you would with combat athletes. So I think my first 6 months, I'd say anyone that stuck around, and some are still here, uh, for myself, you know, which was funny, but however.
But I love that. Like, and we can kind of come. I come back to the martial arts part of it, but that is
Yeah,
something I like to ask people is that when you have performed at a high level and you've been involved in sports to a level where you're in a bubble of it, you say you don't really
yeah.
do much else. At the time, how has that affected how you relate to your general population, your clients, all that sort of stuff? Like,
Like I say, I'm adjusting now because now it's my full-time job. You know, I don't really coach as many athletes anymore in that front. So I have a couple here, but when I first started, it was mainly them. You know, and like I say, I kind of went from the way I was coached into the way I took that approach with them. And sometimes it's necessary, you know, because they're athletes. They need to be stricter, and you can't just be like, oh, come in, and if they're having a bad day, you know, you kind of let them do whatever they want, you know. So they have, you know, yourself in combat sports, they have targets to hit and dates to hit and this type of thing. So you need to push them. Whereas with general population, it's like, okay, well, their biggest event might be like a wedding, or, you know, like they want to look good on the beach. So you have to make that adjustment from a coaching standpoint.
yeah, we were talking about this with Gemma O'Hare last week, in that trying to change a bit of a mindset in terms of from a weight based goal to performance based goal, because
Yeah,
it's more fulfilling,
yeah,
it's more sustainable, it's more longer term. You're not getting to a point, you don't have that
yeah,
wedding, you don't have that beach week holiday,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah,
then afterwards you're looking around going, where the fuck am I? What do I do from here?
yeah.
So have you done kind of introduced that a little bit to your coaching? Does that
That's it.
relate to
Like,
you?
to be honest, like if you check out my Instagram, there's a free plug on it. Like you'll very very rarely see like these like transformation photos. You know, like 6 weeks before, 6 weeks after.
Yeah.
But you'll see like plenty of people hitting like hip thrusts of 100+ kilos, or like a couple of chin ups, or like females hitting their first like pull up or a push up or something. You know, it's like it's a very performance based gym. And I love that about it. Hopefully it never changes. But like you know yourself, if like you can't perform these things if the weight loss doesn't happen, but it's just the secondary focus.
Yeah.
So yes, they will lose weight, but they'll also get strong as hell, you know, and that's my love in fitness is getting strong. So that transfers over to my clients, you know, they love pushing themselves. And like you say, kind of it gives them a focus outside of, okay, well, their wedding has come up and it's done, but then what do they do after that? You know, it's like, do they just go back to the same life of like, oh, they don't care what they eat, or they're never exercising? Whereas now it's like, oh, well, I can still like increase my squat or get those extra couple of chin ups or something like that, you know. So it keeps them on a longer term approach, which is something I'm a big advocate for, rather than like a 6 weeks in and out, maybe lose a stone and then you'll never see that person again, you know, and they'll put the stone back on plus another few in 4 weeks, you know, something like this.
I
Um,
I love what you're doing. That's kind of the main reason that myself and yourself work together with this on the side, is that
yeah,
it's very much a trying to change that mindset from the churning
absolutely, 100%.
personal trainers and more so influencers, maybe
Yeah,
is a better word, who just churn through the clients and the
yeah,
plans, and then at the end of it they don't give a flying fuck where you go after that.
that's it.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of why myself and yourself have a similar
yeah,
view
absolutely.
of the industry. But come here, Luke, let's go back a little bit to the martial arts. You said you used to travel around and stuff. You obviously hit
Yeah.
quite a high level. What sort of a story do you have in the world of martial arts?
So like I say, I started it young enough, and then so mainly around Europe, been to Portugal countless times, to be honest, Poland countless times, France a couple of times, all kind of, again, really good training camps, you know, training again, especially in Portugal and Poland, some really high level athletes, which is great. You know, it's an experience if you ever train with them. It kind of opens your eyes, you know, like that enlightenment moment where you're like, Jesus, I like, again, in your own little small fish in a big pond, and then you kind of gives you that motivation to come back and train harder. But it was really good, again, like I say, I miss it slightly now. Hopefully I'll go back to it. But it was really good. Again, like I say, you see the level of athletes that are out there and kind of how seriously they take their profession, even though you think you're doing it. So it gives you motivation. That's what I always found when I came back from these events or anything. It was like, right, I thought I was at like level A, but I can rise it again and again and again, which was brilliant. And like I say, hopefully I get back into it in the near future while I still can, still young. So
you're very young, but is that why you kind of took a step away from it, is to obviously set up the gym and stuff?
Yeah, that's it. So like I say, I set the gym up in September 2019, and I was still managing the two. I was also in my fourth year of college, so I was finishing my degree. So I kind of threw everything in on the 1 year. It wasn't maybe the smartest thing to do. But I was still, like I say, training martial arts and then starting to open the business out of that club. And then this just kept growing and growing and growing to the stage where I was like, right, well, something needs to take a back seat for maybe a year or 2 years. And then, like I say, maybe we revisit in another year. Hopefully, if everything opens up. Combat sports aren't really a non-contact sport, sadly. So fingers crossed they reopen, and then we can get back to it maybe in a year, like we say. But something definitely I will revisit,
Good to hear, because when it's something is as big a passion for you, and like it seems to me you're a very passionate fellow with like different interests and different hats and all that sort of stuff. So it's obviously you've made a decision to step away, but when something is as big a passion for you, it's hard not to go back to it eventually. But we have said, Luke, that you've opened your own gym at 23.
Yeah.
Like, is it something you always wanted to do? Like, is it something was it always in the back of your head, or is it just something that kind of evolved out of the club?
To be honest, kind of, yes. Like, I've always said it from like a selfish point of view, like I always wanted my own place to train, because like even in my last gym I had keys and it was brilliant. Sometimes with crazy schedules and life, I'm sure you know yourself, like the gym is closed or like it's packed at a certain time, and it's like, oh, this piece of equipment isn't good, or this one isn't good, or you don't like the vibe in the gym. So it was always like, right, well, if I just build my own one, that kind of solves the problem. So yes, it was always like I say, I've always had the idea, and then my aim was to have it by 25. Like I said, I set the business up when I was 21, so I was like, right, give myself 4 years to kind of have that goal. And it kind of it happened. It snowballed kind of really fast, quicker than I expected. So I had the opportunity to open it in August of last year, and I jumped at the idea of it, and it's worked out as much as it could have. As everyone knows, gyms are closed. But it always has, 100% always has been a dream, and hopefully will continue that way. So
yeah, so just as a heads up to people, we are recording this in late April, early May sort of time. Yeah. So that's where we are right now. Fingers crossed by the time this comes out, we will be in a different place. But who the fuck knows, Luke? Who the fuck knows?
That's true. we thought that in January, December, when we reopened, that we would hopefully, take maybe even January. Like my own plan was like, okay, January will be a write-off. I think we all kind of knew in Christmas it was going to blow up, and that my head was thinking, okay, February, March, we'll be back open. But I did not think we'd be sitting here, like we say, at the end of April, still closed, unfortunately. But like I said to you before we jumped on the podcast, again, I'm quite selfish. It's brilliant. I have a gym to train in, and I'm really grateful for that. Like I'm up here a couple of days a week. My family are up here. It's brilliant. We literally live a couple of 100 yards away from it. So it's from that side of things, I'm really grateful, But from a business standpoint, hopefully we open soon. Sorry.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a lovely setup you have, in fairness. But like I said, we can only do that. Go ahead with that sort of stuff for a wee while. We need to get back open and change. That's it. And it's from a very I don't know, knobby point of view, like saying it's like get back to changing people's lives, because there is so much
Yeah,
potential
no, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
in moving and stuff. Look, Luke, we're chatting here, and I can get a feeling for you that you're a really passionate fella. You know what you're all about. Describe the gym as a kind of a physical place or whatever if you want, but also kind of the ethos behind it. What's it like to, if someone walks into Prime Performance and the meet yourself, what are they kind of expecting?
That's a really good question. Okay, so I think like the one thing that I've kind of, like I say, I learned as we've stayed open longer and longer is that and I'm sure, again, I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, and it's kind of the same thing coaches are saying, good coaches, is that clients have had an awful experience in other gyms or with other trainers, and that's the last thing we want them to have here. So I try and have as much of a professional gym as much as possible, so like everything will always run on time, and the place will always be spotless clean. And from like the moment you walk in, we'll try and give you the best experience possible, so whether that's you ring us beforehand and we have a 15-minute, 20-minute consultation call about how you want to go about things, or whether you literally walk in off the street and are like, oh, what's in here? We want the moment from you step in to the door to you leave, if you ever do, to have a great experience, no matter what your goals are. With regards to how maybe I coach, if that was kind of the question, or like what's the mentality in the gym, it's kind of like I say previously, very much performance based. So yes, we obviously want our clients to hit their goals. I'm not pushing my coaching methods or my ethos onto them, but you can kind of amalgamate the two. Like you can't get stronger or like hit some performance goals without losing weight, or getting stronger, or whatever your goals may be. So that's kind of what I'd say is always, like, when they come in the door, we want them to have the best experience. Like they always say, like, it's totally different than most gyms they've been to, or a lot of gyms in their area. It's kind of like some of the stories I've been told by clients is crazy, like that if their coaches would tell them, like, if they didn't get sick in a session, if they didn't feel like throwing up, it's like the session was bad, or like, even again, first sessions with clients, it's like, oh, their back might hurt with an exercise or something, for trying something out. And it's like, oh, we'll of course we'll change the exercise for them. And it's like, they look at you like, oh, like, is that allowed? And it's like, yeah, of course, it's like, what were you doing elsewhere if you had like a back pain? Or even like if you ask the clients, like, oh, have you any injuries? They're like, yeah. And it's like, oh, we'll adjust the program. And they look at you like they're shocked. And it's like, again, it just shows, like we were saying, that kind of, it shows that cookie cutter approach is still obviously there, because like if that's the mentality they have, that like they have to fit into this, like, oh, I have to do like a barbell squat, or I have to do something even if it hurts me. It's like, well, clearly that's not the right approach, so we really try and take an individualized approach with training and with nutrition. Again, like, some people love, I'm not a chef or I'm not a dietitian, so we kind of give a general view of things, like, here's what we recommend you to do, and you can go and you can hit that whatever way you want, whether that's, we see a lot on Instagram nowadays, like low carb or like high carb, and there's big arguments about it. It's like, there's no need to argue, one might work for you or one might work for me. It's like once you're being healthy overall, it's like, and hitting those kind of like your calories and your macros, it's like you're doing 90% better than most other people. Don't focus on the 1% rather than the other 99. Like, get the majority done.
I absolutely love that, Luke. And
sorry, that was probably a long ramble as well. This is something people always tell me, that once I start talking, I don't stop. So
absolutely not, Luke. I really love, like, no, I was going to say I absolutely love hearing that. That's the opposite of it's disgusting to hear the stories that you're kind of coming out with in terms of the way people are treated. And that's, again, stupid analogy, stupid finding stupid ways to kind of promote what we're doing as the gym advisors. It is that kind of trying to get to the point where people can expect to enjoy fitness and enjoy exercise.
That's it, like 100%. I think it's the whole, like you say, the whole ethos of your business and your brand is, like you say, like, get something that fits you. Like, we want to avoid those bad trainers or those bad experiences in the gym. Nobody should have those. And hopefully, as the industry progresses, which I think it is, despite what we're talking about, I think it is getting better. There's a lot more like you see it evidence based approach coming into the industry, which is brilliant. Like I said, my background is in sports science, so I'm a scientist at the end of the day. I have a 4-year degree and I'm an absolute nerd. I'm reading every day, like on nutrition and best training methods, and I will do so every day. And that's the way I think all coaches should be, not just like you say, come in and like, oh, do 100 burpees and then leave feeling sick. And it's like, that's a good workout. It's like, no, that's, anyone can do that. You don't need to be a qualified coach to do that. Anyone could tell you to do burpees.
That could be the title of the show. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyone can tell you to do burpees. But come here, look, you talk about being evidence based, and that is 100% the way we should be going and stuff. But there's also like with everything, with evidence is a balance. That's not what I mean. But like there's this is how maybe we can do it, and this is what works for A, B, and C type of person.
Yeah.
But there's also kind of the human element to it in terms of
absolutely
getting them to adhere and stuff. How do you balance the two? Is that a question that comes up for you a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like the big one is, like I say, I think people view it as like, oh, you're either on the experience side or you're on the like, oh, you're just an evidence-based coach. And it's like, no, well, the good things happen in the middle, like everything. It's never black or white. It's usually gray. So I think communication with your clients is another big one. And like I said, like coming in and having a chat with them, like it's amazing what you find out in a couple of quick questions, like how's your week, or how are you feeling? How's that, like sleep or nutrition, or like how does that work for you? And I think that's how you kind of merge the two, if that's the right word. Like you say, kind of finding that Goldilocks zone, as I call it, where the two kind of merge. Because like you say, if you just take that like just from a textbook standpoint, it's like you're dealing with human beings, not robots. So like you could have the best program in the world, like from the best coach in the world, but if your client comes in and they've had 4 hours of sleep and their kids are sick and work has been horrendous, it's like a program's not going to make a difference, so you have to ask your athletes. I always, warming up with them or something like this, it's like, how are you feeling today? How does that feel? It's like you could have planned for like 100 kilos, say, for a squat or something, and it's like, but if the 60 and 70 and 80 warm-up sets felt horrendous, it's like you'd be an idiot to keep plowing on with I was supposed to do this. And like you said, they are humans, and it's the same for nutrition. It's like you could set them. I don't do meal plans personally. I don't think they work. I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not qualified to do them. But it's like you could give your client like pasta and rice, or pasta and chicken, like the famous bodybuilder meals, and they'd be miserable, like they've gone from eating like Domino's or like drinking every weekend. It's like they're obviously not going to stick to that, So on paper it might be great, but I think the conversation needs to happen with your athletes on both, or with your clients. From I always refer to them as athletes. Sorry, it's in my head. As they'll become athletes as they progress.
I love it.
They you need to have those conversations. Essentially, is what I think. Otherwise, there's no point. Again, like I say, you could have the best program. It's useless if you're not talking to them. That would be my view.
I love that, because it's basically just taking over, like we've said this before and stuff. It's just basically taking all the stuff that you've learned in the different qualifications that you have, the massive qualifications that you have, and giving the person in front of you what will work for them, and then they can kind of they can work from there and make the progress from there. So look, when we open, Luke, I assume we're going to go back to a previous point in time where it was everyone had to schedule in and book in and different things like that.
Yeah.
How important is it for people to have like, and that's probably a good thing in a way, because this is the time I'm going to the gym. If I don't go, I just miss it. You don't have that conversation in your head. Oh, I'll go now. I'll go in an hour. I'll go in an hour.
That's it.
How important is that though, to just in a general term, to have a kind of either a time or a day where you like that you stick to, and that's just it, and it's kind of a bit non-negotiable,
Yeah, I think it's like it's really vital, especially like we say, for a general population, they're always going to have kind of more commitments, sorry, whether it be like family or jobs or whatever it may be. So I think it's like everything, if your kids go to like football or something, they have a time to do it, It's like, it's not you just bring them out to the park whenever. It's like, if you're in a job, you have like meetings at X amount of time, dinner is cooked at the same time, most times in houses every day. So I think the gym should be the same, every day you can, like you say, you can schedule it. What I do personally and what I recommend my clients to do is like on the Sunday night, say, because Sunday's usually a chill day for people, sit down and you plan your week Monday to Friday, right? Like everything, it takes maybe 20 minutes, but it'll save you an hour and 20 minutes throughout the week, because like I say, 20 minutes to write down, okay, work 9 to 5, and then, okay, 30 minutes to get to the gym, an hour workout, say, not even, whatever, how long you want to spend. And then you can go home, and it makes a big difference. Like you say, if you just kind of like, oh, I'll go to the gym 3 days a week, it's like, yeah, but then you skip Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you only have Thursday and Friday, Saturday, and it's like, Jesus, 3 days in a row, and I have to train on Friday. It's already, the thought of it is like, that's miserable, right?
Yeah.
Like most people, like myself, I hate training on a Friday, By the end of the week, I'm knackered. So the thought of training on a Friday for someone that loves fitness is horrendous, let alone general population. They've been working all week, their kids are in school. It's like, whereas if you have a plan, I think it makes a big difference. Like I say, it takes 20 minutes and cuts out so much stress. Like little things like packing your gym gear. It's the same things, it's nothing, there's no groundbreaking stuff here, but if you put it into practice, it actually makes such a difference, like packing your gym bag, throwing it in the car on the way to work. Like we've all heard these things and people kind of fob them off. It's like, oh, well, that doesn't work. It's like, well, did you actually try it for more than a week? It's like, no, they didn't. If they stuck with it, it works, because it does, I think people are too quickly to like discard these, like, oh, schedule things. It's like, oh, I went off at once, so it doesn't work. It's like, no, like it does, nothing, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, like
I think we are particularly with those basic things, like it's so mundane is probably the wrong word, but that kind of it's just so normal, it's so simple, and people think, oh, it can't be that easy. But I will go and try. I will go and try this fucking detox tea, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's like, that's it. It's fascinating, genuinely. Like people's minds, they're crazy. Like I say, I'm still wired like kind of not general population. I've always trained sports, so I have that mindset. Whereas some people, like you said, they'll rather jump on a detox and starve themselves for 8 weeks than just maybe cut out that extra bottle of wine at the weekend, or like go to the gym for 30 minutes. And that puzzles me. It really, like, it's fascinating the lengths people will go, like the extremes, like you say, rather than kind of just hitting those A, B, and C, the basics of like something that doesn't take a lot of effort, packing a gym bag and putting in your car, as opposed to like drinking celery 6 times a day. Like, geez, it's crazy, people are crazy.
And now we go to our ad from the drinking celery diet. I absolutely
that's it, and then insert plug here. It's like, oh, it's so typical, like genuinely crazy stuff.
Oh, Jesus, Luke,
no, it really is.
You're dead right. Come here, one kind of last question before we go on to our songs. With your clients, whether it's online, in person, whatever, how do you track progress? How do you track fitness in kind of inverted commas? How do you track their progress towards their goals? Like, how basic do you get? Are you high tech? What do you do?
So it depends on, like, again, the person. If you're dealing with competitive people, you have to be a little more specific. But general, like Mary, like, he wants to come in and wants to lose a couple of dress sizes or something like this. A couple of approaches. Don't just ever just use weight. Don't just use the scales. Try and take like a multifaceted approach, whether that be measurements or the scales or pictures or something. So again, it depends on the person. Like, I've had people come in here and their head is so anti weighing scales that, like, it wouldn't make sense for me to force the scales onto them, being like, again, it's kind of just digging that hole deeper that they're going to rely on the scales. Other people, they hate taking progress photos. The worst thing they can do is stand in the mirror and like you do the 3 poses that we've all seen so many times, So again, it would kind of be, like we said before, kind of sitting down and having that conversation with them and being like, right, if the scales is out, we'd recommend like measurements, or some people, you know, like if we're with athletes, we might do skin folds or something like this. And I know a couple of them here have access to DEXA scans and stuff, which is pretty cool. You know, I wish I did. But it, like I say, it depends on the athlete kind of sitting down, or the person in general sitting down with them, having that conversation. And but definitely the one thing I would say is never take just one. You know, like the scales mightn't move, but you might look amazing. You know, you might have lost inches off your waist. You know, again, we've all seen people recomp. You know, like weigh 150 pounds and be skinny or skinny fat, and then they've put on a couple of pounds of muscle and lost a couple of pounds of fat. You know, so always take at least, I usually recommend like 2 to 3 like different measurements, whether it be the scales or clothes or pictures or skin folds, again depending on the individual, but definitely not one, you know, because that can just screw with your head, you know, if it doesn't drop or it doesn't change in a week or two, which it really very rarely will if you're doing things, you know, on a long-term approach, you know. So that definitely a couple of measurements, again, like we say, down to the individual would be my kind of approach personally, you know.
I absolutely love it. Is there ever someone that comes into you, Luke, and is, you said kind of if scales is out the window, we go a different direction, but
yeah,
I've asked this question to a couple of people now at this stage, but like,
yeah,
does anyone ever come in and scales are such a big deal to them that that's the only thing they want, that you
100%.
You kind of have to go, well, now we're not doing scales, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's crazy, and I find them there. A lot of them are coming from like Weight Watchers or like these type of organizations where, you know, again, it fascinates me where like you stand on a scale once a week and people clap you, or like, this puzzles me. You know, why would you want to
throw
do
tomatoes
that?
at you?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, Jesus, like no wonder people's heads are so fixated on a measurement. So like if someone like this does come in, it's kind of like there's the way I would say it, it's like it's just a number, you know. Obviously it has its merits, and it is to some degree a health measure, but like weight fluctuates every day, you know. Like, so if they want to use weight as a parameter, you have to weigh in at least 4 times a week, because weight fluctuates, whether it be stress or like there's literally, the list is endless. And we could be here for an hour talking about why your weight might fluctuate over 24-hour period, right? So if they are using weight and they're fixated, like you say, on I have to see the scales drop or I have to see the scales rise, you know, maybe some guys wanting to bulk, you have to do it a couple of times a week, because like I could step on the scales right now and then go drink half a liter of water, you know, have lunch, and I'd be a kilo or 2 heavier, you know. Again, combat sports are great for that, you know. Like you see athletes cutting 20, 25 pounds in, you know, less than a couple of days, sometimes even less, you know. Like we've seen some crazy stuff, people cutting like 15 pounds in 24-hour periods. Like that alone should highlight that weight isn't the only thing, you know, like because it can fluctuate so much. So again, we'd sit down with that person and kind of have a chat with them and outline the pros and cons and be like, right, if you still want to go ahead with it, we'll do it X, Y, and Z, rather than that like one time a week and then demonize yourself for the month, you know.
I've never thought of it in terms of using the combat sports cutting and then rebulking after a weigh-in or whatever.
Yeah.
As a method of going, Jesus, yeah. Obviously, it's so easy to manipulate the scale. It's so easy to for it not to be an accurate reflection of how you look or whatever. So that's a really good analogy.
That's it. Like, and like I say, it's probably just because like the background I've had, but like that's a great analogy. You know, most people have heard of, you know, boxers or something cutting weight, so they understand the concept, and it makes it a little clearer. Like, oh Jesus, maybe if I didn't drink the night before, if I didn't eat the night before, well, that will make my way in. And it's like, yeah, but that's not actually a representation of how your progress is happening. You know, I could easily shed 5 pounds in an hour. It doesn't mean I'm any healthier just because I'm lighter, you know, on that day. So a couple of points a week, like weigh-ins, at least, like we say, at least 3, 4. And it kind of gives a clearer picture. You know, you take the average rather than just that one day, that 1 minute where you step on the scales and then feel horrible, or you feel like on top of the world, you know. Really crazy.
No, it's really, really good. And that's kind of why I've been asking the question of a few different people recently, is just to try and get a feel for and to show all the different opinions. Like you from a combat background, combat sports background. Jem O'Hare from a kind of Pilates background, and then a few other people we've had recently as well. And just asking them the question about it and making sure, like, all these people with all the qualifications, all the knowledge in the world, and they're the ones kind of going, it doesn't really work, and there's no benefit to you. You could easily just weigh someone, and if they want it, you're not getting any benefit out of saying scales don't work. You're not being paid you're not in the pocket of big anti-scales movement.
Yeah, that's it. Like, it's like, that's it. Because some people look at you like that, it's like, geez, what have you got against it? It's like, like, not that their weight doesn't affect me, like, obviously I want them to succeed, but it's like, I'm not trying to trick you, like you say, I haven't got the detox promo code just yet, anyway. And so I'm not pushing anything on people that isn't kind of backed with, results and research, because again, it's not the way I coach. Always have a reason for everything you put in someone's program. Something I really preach.
I think that's a really good place to finish up that section of the podcast. You are adding to our playlist Spotify, so make sure you go and check out the Spotify playlist. Search the Gym Advisors playlist, and you'll find it there. So, what songs are you adding? Give us your first one there.
So there's a good variety. We were joking about this before we jumped on. So my first one would be Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
That is an absolute tune. That is like,
absolutely. That's a get pumped for a PB, so as I say.
And give us your second one.
And then number 2 would be Break My Baby by Kaleo. Okay, probably a little more unknown, but still really good.
We all turn back now. I've got your back. Would you ever do that for me?
When we were putting these together, I was absolutely bopping away at this, so I really like this one. I'm looking forward to putting this one on. And your third one?
And then it's Run This Town by Jay-Z. And
that's another tune. Have you? Is there anything that kind of runs, like, there's a wide variety of kind of genres there and stuff? Is there something that runs through them that makes them good for your sessions, or is it just that these are good tunes?
Yeah, like you said, I have no idea. Some people look at me when there's from mad guitar solos to like Rihanna on it. It's kind of whatever, whatever comes on the day,
It definitely represents what the playlist as a whole, because it is as wide variety,
crazy, right?
As eclectic as it gets, and I absolutely love the way it's shaping up.
Brilliant.
Luke, of course, you can be found as a personal trainer, as a coach on thegymadvisors.ie/Prime Performance Luke, and your facility, the class Prime Performance, can be found thegymadvisors.ie/Prime Performance. But you're also on social media if you want to point people in that direction.
Yeah, so our main social media would be at Prime Performance Dublin on Instagram, and we are on Facebook, but Instagram is the main one to find us on. We post multiple times a week, so definitely worth checking out.
Definitely, really informative stuff on there as well. We were talking about the detox code there a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
One thing that we're a little bit different on the gymadvisors.ie and the store as well is that we only provide non-fatty, non-bullshit stuff that will genuinely help the user and the person who gets to it. You are an affiliate, so do you remember your code?
It's Prime 10.
What a man. Good memory.
That's it.
Luke. Very, very good.
Spot on.
Luke, man, this has been great crack, really informative.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, me too, Andy. Right. Thanks very much, Roy. Talk to you then.
To the rest of you, though, as always, hasta la fitness, baby.